What would you say coherence is, and why do we need stuff to help us create more coherence in our lives?
Yeah, it's a great question. Um, Coherence is really about order and harmony in our experience. And if we can create order and harmony, we end up shifting our experience to better align with what, makes us feel better, what supports us, what motivates us and drives us really.
And why would we need things to help us restore coherence?
We live in a world where there are so many distractions, and we have become disconnected really as a species and civilization, where nowadays a lot of us feel like we're separate and alone. People can be living in a big city and they don't know their neighbors and they feel alone. But in fact, the truth of the matter is we are all interconnected. We are all part of a whole. And you might say, well, can you give an example of that? And I like to point to the flock of birds. I used to live in Delaware, and there would be these, we were in the flyway, and for about a half an hour, certain times of the year, there would be this black river of the same species bird flying above you, and it would last, half hour sometimes. And when these birds would fly, if you clapped your hands, the flock would sometimes split and come back together. But none of the birds were running into each other. They weren't like, oh, you go this way, I go that way. They were in alignment and coherence with each other. And we see this in schools of fish too, where you see a school of fish and they're all, pretty much equally spaced and they're moving. And that's an example of one consciousness being expressed. And so we can use technologies that have come through from higher levels of awareness, other dimensions, if you want to go there as well. And you can use that to create a coherent space. And in that coherence, we start to reconnect to higher levels of awareness and consciousness, which have always been there, but they've just been disconnected. All of us are capable of remarkable things, self-healing capabilities, intuitive capabilities, and perceptive capabilities, and so much more. It's just there's been a disconnect. So when you plug that little wire back in, and you're reconnected and you realize you have new abilities, you have new access to information that otherwise in a lower vibrational state, one of fear, anger, sadness, guilt, all that, those tools tend not to be available.